Well, now that that review's out of the way, this one is for Red Dragon. This one was made, actually this was the first book of the series to be adapted into a movie, believe it or not, but they titled the movie Manhunter due to copyright issues with another movie that was martial arts, and plus they didn't want people thinking it was a martial arts movie when it wasn't, and like Anthony Hopkins is in this one, and that one didn't really do real well, so Silence of the Lambs wasn't marketed as a sequel, thank God. Well, eventually they decided they could remake it, or at least just do another adaptation, kind of like they did with, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. A dumb analogy considering the tone of this movie, I know, but you get what I mean. The first one wasn't like the book that much, and although people loved it, the author hated it, people thought it could have been better, so they remake it with Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka, all this stuff, and it turned out to be good. And one of Tim Burton's best films, believe it or not. Well, that's similar to what they did with Red Dragon, and plus, you know, people wanted another Hannibal movie anyway, so they did that. Now, Red Dragon, Jodie Foster isn't in this either, but her character, so why should she be in it anyway, you know? That's one good thing about this, and, well, the downside of this movie, even though I liked this one, is basically just Silence of the Lambs, but with a male protagonist. And the guy who plays the male protagonist is Edward Norton, and he's one of my favorite actors, actually, because he really knows how to get into character and give his best performance in a film, kind of like Christian Bale and Johnny Depp, or Christopher Lee, or Jack Nicholson, or any of those guys, you know. And kind of like Johnny Depp, he's real enigmatic with his characters. He can look exactly like his characters and be completely different in his roles. Not as good as Johnny Depp, no doubt, but he's pretty good. Anyway, in this, he plays an FBI agent, of course, who named Will, and he has an encounter with Hannibal in the beginning of the movie, and it leaves him psychologically and physically scarred. He's called back in later on after a few years of peace to do an investigation on a killer called the Tooth Fairy. Where Buffalo Bill would skin his victims, the Tooth Fairy, he does it because he has some dragon from a painting tattooed on his back, and he believes the dragon to be some kind of like god or something, just commanding him to do it and stuff. It's clearly a hallucination. And like Buffalo Bill, though, he had a traumatic childhood, and he lived with this wicked grandmother who abused him and talked trash to him and stuff, and just did things, you know, bad things, and yeah, it left a scar on him. The guy who plays him in the movie, when he kills people, he does a pretty good job at being menacing and scary, and he gives you that edge of your seat feel, not like Buffalo Bill does, but whereas Buffalo Bill would only kill and do stuff to women, this guy would do it to just about anybody. They don't show him fully raping people, you know, and stuff, but they show flashbacks at the FBI agent, like, has in his head visualizing him. And, you know, it's similar because Hannibal gives him advice on the dude and stuff. Will goes to prison and visits him. It's basically, like I said, just a remake of Silence of the Lambs. And so yeah, it's kind of just a been there, done that, you know. Nothing fresh, nothing too old. I mean, this review's a lot more positive than Hannibal, and I recommend this one a lot more than I would Hannibal any day. But that's just my opinion, though. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people like this one. I mean, it didn't win any Academy Awards like Silence of the Lambs did or anything, and it's held in high regard, but not too much, you know. But it's just kind of a rehash in a way, even though there's a few different things about it and stuff. And, you know, it's a prequel to Silence of the Lambs, believe it or not. This shows how Hannibal winds up in prison. Like I said in the beginning of the movie where he has that confrontation and stuff, he shoots Hannibal, and stuff like that. But yeah, I do recommend this, but just be warned, it's nothing new. It's just a revisit, basically. And that's just a heads up I'm giving. But it's a lot better than Hannibal, and if you want another one, watch this one. If you've seen Hannibal already, want Redemption, watch this one. And that's all.